As Spencer's grandpa would say, meh, I mean, like, if you really want to go to the movies, Jumanji The Next Level provides some thrills and some laughs. But it's a far cry from the originality and the surprising quality. I still to this day, well, it wasn't that long ago, but I remember sitting in the theater watching the last Jumanji and being like, wow, this is really good. That experience was not repeated with this one. And quite frankly, I feel this latest entry in the Jumanji franchise feels more like a really good streaming movie than something worthy of a trip to the multiplex. In fact, I usually see movies more than once because I go as a member of the press, or I go like as soon as possible, because in this case I missed the press screening. I go to see it to review, and then I'll go again for particularly the big movies to see it with friends or family. And I told people I couldn't see this movie again. I was like, I just don't think I can sit through it. I don't think it's a good use of my time to see it more than once, to be honest with you. But to be fair, I did laugh out loud several times throughout the movie, which I know for sure, because I surprised myself hearing myself laugh out loud in what was basically an empty theater. It's a weird experience. You're like, oh wow, I did literally LOL at that joke. And again, as I said, I LOL'd several times throughout the movie. And I went to see it at, 4 p.m. is a tough show time, but it's the holidays. You'd think there would be some families there. And there was just one other adult, a mom, who took a bunch of kids. And when they were leaving, she was like, I didn't think that one was as good as the first one. Did you? To the other kid, the kids she was chaperoning? And they were like, yeah. They were kind of bored throughout the movie. But they didn't talk through the movie, so I guess it kind of held their attention somewhat. That was my movie-going experience for Jumanji The Next Level. It was weak. It didn't have that energy that you would want from a movie at this time of year. Whereas with the first one, as you might recall from my review, I was sitting next to this adorable kid that someone had brought, and he was having an amazing time. He was rocking back in his seat, and at one point, we looked at each other, and we were like, this movie is so good! So again, that didn't happen this time. And circling back to Spencer's grandpa, that character is actually the biggest problem with this movie, whether he's played by Danny DeVito or Dwayne Johnson. And in fact, he's such a problem that I'm surprised that when they were on set, everybody didn't look at each other there and go like, this is really not working. When he was played by Danny DeVito, I didn't appreciate his outlook on life. I thought that was a real bummer. And I don't think it ever really got much better. And the joke of him being in Dwayne Johnson's body, well, it got old real fast, especially because Dwayne Johnson, who's usually excellent, just couldn't get a good hold of the character. I mean, someone should have pulled Dwayne Johnson aside and said, look, I applaud you for wanting to try this, but it's just not working out. You can't do this character. But Awkwafina sure could, although that's no real surprise because Spencer's grandpa is very much in her wheelhouse even before this movie. She has, characters like that that she's kind of done before. But Awkwafina was a delight throughout in this movie. Her character has multiple surprises, others that I won't even hint at here. And her role is larger than advertised. She barely made any of the advertising for this movie, but yet she has a substantial role in the actual film. And she not only does a really good job, I'm a big Awkwafina fan, but Awkwafina doesn't get enough credit for being very pretty. And they play that up here, which I thought was a nice change of pace for her, but without detracting from her comedic abilities. I mean, wow, Karen Gillan and Awkwafina, talk about an excellent female cast. And also Danny Ramirez showed up very briefly, but I am so happy to see her getting work because she was my favorite, or one of my favorite characters on Devious Maids. She's very talented. Unfortunately, most people know her as a really bad one of the bad Morlocks in X3, X-Men The Last Stand. But she's very talented, and I thought she was actually a really good romantic interest for Dwayne Johnson, but they didn't go too far with that. But with the guys, Kevin Hart is undoubtedly the MVP. He was fantastic, hilarious throughout the film, a lot of good gags, and his Danny Glover impression is quite good. Dwayne Johnson couldn't really do the but Danny DeVito wasn't even doing Danny DeVito. But Kevin Hart as Danny Glover was great and provides some of the best running gags throughout the film. I didn't love this movie's impression of seniors, how it depicted senior citizens, though. I thought it was very dated. It was very odd. I was like, I had a problem with it. Now, as for Jack Black, while I was impressed with his range as he plays both Fridge and Bethany in that Avatar, right? There was just something about his playing an African-American character that didn't sit quite right with me. I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. I wasn't quite sure why it wasn't a good idea because, how is it any worse than him playing a woman, right? Although I did have some problems with that in the first film. He's trading in stereotypes. Look, no one's doing any amazing acting here playing someone else. We've seen a couple of movies with shapeshifters and they do an uncanny job, actors do an uncanny job impersonating each other, but that's not happening here. They have to say, is that you, Fridge? And he's like, it is. And you're like, well, maybe you should not be in that body. But I'd be curious what you guys thought if it rubbed any of you the wrong way. I also, without giving anything away, I didn't like the ending with Danny Glover's Milo. I thought that the way they decided to handle his character, again, it just kind of seemed wrong. And if you're going to talk about it down below, be sure to mark it with spoiler comments. But you know who I loved seeing in the movie? The Hound, aka Rory McCann, as the bad guy. He was fantastic and one of the better roles for the Game of Thrones cast outside of the HBO show. I hope that he continues to get work. It was great. I was so happy to see him there. They should have played that up more. It's ridiculous. And the missions were really cool, right? And there were a number of interesting twists. And I appreciated all the visuals. Very well done. And it did feel like playing a pretty good video game. But the energy was just off. The energy, it just wasn't working. It wasn't gelling. And again, it wasn't gelling to such a degree, I am surprised they couldn't tell on set. I would be like, we need to work on this. We have a problem. Screenwriters Chris McKenna and Eric Somers are the only people missing from the behind the scenes crew this time around. Everyone else came back. So I guess they made a big difference. McKenna, in fact, did come up with the whole story for the last film. So again, Jumanji The Next Level is entertaining. I'd say it's more diverting than entertaining, with some genuine laughs, but not something you need to see in theaters unless you really want to go to the movies. I'm not sorry I went, but as I said, I could not watch it again. It's rare for me. I watch a lot of movies more than once, but with this one, maybe like in a couple of months when it comes out on streaming, I could watch it again, but I can't do it like in the same week. I just can't. Also, for some weird reason, this is a Christmas movie, which I feel unnecessarily narrows the film's playability. I know it comes out for Christmas, but so what? It's a tropical film. It's going to make it weird when it comes out on streaming in a couple of months for like spring or summer. All of a sudden, it's like making Shazam a Christmas movie. You don't need to do it. It doesn't make, at least this one came out at Christmas, but you don't need to limit your movie in that way. It makes no sense, especially since it wasn't Christmas in the world of Jumanji. So again, what? Although I will say the tease at the very end of the film, it's not an end credit sequence, so don't worry, you don't have to sit through the credits. It's at the very end though, right before the credits. It was a pleasant surprise, and it hints at a fourth film more in line with the 1995 film. And I have to say, it could pull me back in, especially if they keep Lamorne Morris, who has a brief cameo here, because I really enjoy his work, and I don't think he doesn't get enough credit either. I do applaud this film for giving a lot of actors, a chance to work. And I know some of you don't like diversity, but I think it's important and I think it's reflected really well in this film. It's one of the best qualities, and it's one of the few qualities that it didn't lose going from entry to entry. So that's my review of Jumanji The Next Level. Share your own thoughts down below. Be sure to mark spoiler comments as such, because the few surprises in this film are one of its true pleasures. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.